So how about we debunk some misinformation real quick? And the misinformation is right here. This has been put out by a group called Empowering Alliance, a pro-fossil fuel group, no problem. But they're stating that it takes 1.7 million solar panels that would cover up to 3,500 acres of land to put out the same amount of power as this gas plant, which would only cover 50 acres of land. Now, the misinformation is in the fact that they don't consider all of the natural gas wells that will have to be drilled to feed this natural gas plant and the amount of acreage they take up. And the fact that as time goes by, those natural gas wells will decline in production, which means more and more and more wells will have to be drilled, which means more and more acreage will have to be added to the profile of this natural gas plant. So if all of the wells that are feeding this natural gas plant are relatively new, they don't have to be brand new, but relatively new, then the acreage, these two things, the solar panels and the natural gas plant would take up in total, would actually be comparable. But as time goes by and more wells have to be drilled to feed this so there's enough gas, this will actually take up more acreage than the solar panels. Another thing they leave out are all of the roads and everything else that has to be constructed. I'm not going to include pipelines because they're buried and the surface of the land is still usable. But roads have to be built to all these wells. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. In addition to that, they don't cover the cost. The cost of natural gas that this plant uses per day, depending on the price of natural gas, anywhere between $1.5 and $2 million per day to buy the gas to power this plant. Now, of course, there are costs to integrate the solar farm into the grid. That is an expense that the solar farm will have to absorb. Now, how much could that cost? It's impossible to determine. It depends on the grid they're tying into, what condition the grid is in, how far away they have to travel to tie in. Is there enough available capacity? There's 1,000 things that determine the cost of that. But let's just say it was $100 million. Even if it was $100 million, that's how much the gas plant would spend in roughly 60 days of operation. And let's not forget, we got to tie the gas plant into the grid as well. The larger point, if you're online and you're reading something that's either pro-fossil fuel or pro-renewable energy, it doesn't matter which one. If they're pro anything, they're lying to you about something. They just are. They have to. That's the only way you can be pro one thing, is to lie about the other thing, or to just selectively omit information. But the entire land use argument when it comes to renewable energy is a complete fallacy. And that is because they never include the tens of millions of wells we have had to drill in this country, hundreds of millions. We have had to drill in this country to create that exact same energy. And they don't include the amount of acreage all of those well sites take up. So if anyone ever talks about land use in a discussion you're having with them, hit them in the mouth with that. Thanks.